Hey, guys. Do you guys get in trouble if your like foot hits the line? I can respect that. I can respect that. You on? What are you doing? You got your hat on, hanging out. Good times. Yeah, it's good. I think I was just saying that on the radio. I think the way this team is built, we're physical on both sides. Like our offense wants to run the ball. We got big guys up front. You look at Trent. So it's a good day. I think anytime we get out here, we get a chance to try to get better and see what the run game looks like from an offense and defensive standpoint. Obviously, we've been talking about it. We've been kind of semi-repping it without pads, but today's the day where now the coaches will coach us up, and they'll probably be even more intense the next time we're in pads because now you get to correct stuff and see what you need to do differently. Nah, man, if I got to make a lot of calls in the back and I want my hands, I like to talk with my hands. Yeah, I think that's what's important about training camp. I've been here for years, and training camp's always been, as Bill or Flo or Matty P would say, like it has to be like a heavyweight fight of back and forth, good days, bad days, and adding those guys, and then offensively and defensively, like we gotta go back and forth. If one side dominates, it looks good. You guys are right about it. This side of the ball, but overall, you won't have a good team. We can't be one-sided. So I think those guys have obviously added a lot of energy, a lot of juice. They're all really good players. We've played them in the past. So I think that's what it's been about so far. As you guys have watched, primarily in the beginning of the camp, we've been in the red area. You've seen tough catches in the end zone. You've seen pass breakups, some interceptions. So I think that's something that we got to focus on by both sides, really challenge each other day in and day out, and then ultimately trying to get better when we go out there against Washington and start to form as a team. And then the following week, I think that's what it's about. But I think it's been back and forth, and we need that. Yeah, it's all about progress. I think even when you return, guys, you kind of want to start off at a better level than you would if there's new guys. But it's something you can't take for granted. I think that's what we're building now. So hopefully we get it good by September. But it's something that even if we go out there week one and it's great communication, that doesn't automatically mean week two. Like, it's going to be different game plans, different things that we do. So it's something that it's not just out here, but it's in the meeting rooms, it's in the walkthroughs that we got to continue to build and see, what calls a certain guy likes. Like Judon's a new guy. Like, what would he rather be in? How do we see what he is? Baymore's a rookie. What is he? So I think those are the things that we're working through and figuring out what guys like, what guys don't like. And a lot of that comes down to just with the guys on the field talking and communicating. So whether it's Bent, whether it's High, me in the secondary, AP, Doug, like it's that communication of figuring things out and then continually just going at it. Yeah, it's something that's, I think, great for the season because it's something that we see week in and week out. A game plan that we have for like a Lamar Jackson, if we see Baltimore, will be a little bit different if we play Tennessee and we got Tannehill, So it's something that we talk about. We're paying attention if we go out there and Cam's in the game. We're in there like, all right, Cam's at quarterback. Same thing, all right, we go out there max in. But it's something that we have to build awareness as a defense because we do that if James White is a running back, if Damien's a running back. Like, those are things that we talk about in the huddle pre-snap. So with the quarterback, you don't always get that in a training camp to have two guys that have pretty different styles. But it's great work for us as a defense because obviously you have to play to those styles, but it builds the communication of whatever calls, whatever things that we like against one guy, we might not like against the other guy. So we have to pay attention no matter who's in the game of communicating that and then getting to the right call. So that's been a challenge and something that we're trying to stay on top of. Yeah. Yeah, that's a high level question. I see how you try to ask it. I'm the wrong guy to ask there.
How much does this all help? You mentioned communication like 4 or 5 times. How much does it all help that you guys can actually communicate on the field as you're getting stuff ready, in training camp?
Yeah, it's been good, and I would say even how we're able to move in a facility now and compared to last year, the differences with all of the protocols has been really good of, being able to have those walkthroughs, being able to communicate, like just the comfort level of being able to do that day in and day out and it feeling more normal has been really good. And, like you said, the pre-practice, all of the things that we do that kind of builds towards practice, I think they usually way big and help us a lot when it comes to communicating. No, that's always exciting. The first day you get out there in pads, but I will say training camp's a lot different than like my rookie year coming in, and the board every day just said practice, and then practice. Like you didn't know if it was going to be a walkthrough when you had a single session. You didn't know if it was going to be a double session. And I'm sure you saw Teddy out here. I'm sure if you ask Teddy, he's probably like, well, let me tell you about training camp So it's different I think throughout the years, and very fortunate to be able to play in a season my rookie year where training camp was one way, and to be able to stick throughout the league where it's totally different now. But yeah, it's still exciting. You still want to have fun, and a lot of times I'm encouraging the big guys. I'm not in the thick of the line, setting edges and doing those things. But it's for me, it's a communication, and when it shows up of being a part of the run game, of doing my job. No. I've gotten a good opportunity to just talk to him throughout the years. And I think the biggest thing for me is just the wisdom of how those guys, year in and year out, try to build, whether it was returning a lot of guys, having a new guy. Those guys have helped me out a lot, whether it's been Teddy, Willie Mack, Lloyd Malloy. I've gotten to speak to a lot after my rookie year, Ty Law. So all of those guys, I think, obviously they built something here that was very special. And we've just tried to continue to build on the culture that they started. But anytime you get a chance to be around a guy that's played a lot of years, won championships, you just try to soak up as much wisdom as possible. Well, thank you for bringing all those stats out here today.
Just prepared. But that's very unusual for Bill Belichick. Even that's unusual for you guys to have that. So how much is that an emphasis this year, and how much does it help to put the pads on and then simulate those runs?
Yeah, and that's what it's about. I'm sure you can imagine we had a lot of not so pleasant meetings last year after some of those games, but obviously it's been a big emphasis. It's been talked about, but like today's the first day where you actually get to see it, what it'll look like. And obviously you saw today, like we got to keep getting better at that because, like I said, it's one thing to kind of walk through and step through some fits and stuff, but we're going against a good offensive line and some good running backs, so that's something that we got to work at each day. We can't kind of come in here like, oh, man, we got Hightower back, we got Jude on here. Like that means absolutely nothing. We got Gotcha. Like we got to build and figure out where guys are going to be, what we're going to do in certain situations. So that started today, but it's something we'll have to build upon.
How different are the guys passing through the secondary, like Henry and Simon, John Smith and Aguilar and Moore? How different are those guys that come right now?
Yeah, I think it's just getting used to guys, and I think one of the hard things, too, when you talk about two tight ends like Hunter and Jonu, is the ability to run the ball, but the ability to have the hard play action passes and things like that. I've seen that, obviously, being in the league for a while. You play against teams. We've had that here in years past. So those are just things that, like today, when you get the pads on, you got to be more aware. Like it's one thing with no pads, and you're just like, all right, I got to cover these guys, and that's all you're thinking about. But now you start to add a little bit of the run game. You got Josh calling different plays that look the same. Like that's the stress it puts on the defense. So it's definitely different having to cover those guys. And then, like you said, Nelly's a guy that can stretch you vertical in some of those run sets where now he's running the top off the defense's hard play action. So it's just all adjusting. It's knowing who's out there, knowing when they're in a spot they're not usually. Like all of those things that come up, you got to start to use all those tools.
Since you brought it up, you did, how long you've been in the league, can't help but notice like the wheels still work as we're chasing down Cam down here. Do you do anything differently? Has your off-season training process evolved just as you've gone, on the wrong side of 30 a little further there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun. It's been challenging. I think last year I learned a lot with the lockout of, not being able to be here and to have to do things on my own, where I felt like I established a really good offseason plan and kind of stuck to that this year. So I'll stick to that until I am running an offseason. I'm like, damn, I'm slow. Then I'll know it's time to hang him up. But right now, I heard you mention Jason, but like with him in the offseason, racing against each other, challenging each other on times, and making sure we can still run, knowing that, that's a part of our strength. Trying to just stick with that and kind of go. And that's, like you said, that's questions I've asked some of these older guys like Teddy and these guys that, start to build those years, after you get past 10 and now you're stacking them, asking those guys, like, what'd you do? How was it? So, like, that's been a challenge, but trying to just stay on top of it. Well, I think it's different too because I think we're all human. So you come into a new place, you're very new. You didn't get an off season or any of that. Guys are trying to get to know you. You're trying to put your best foot forward. You're trying to be yourself. And I feel like now, like, we know Cam, and it's the same thing out here. We're talking trash. He gets hit 3 times, and then he runs into the back of the end zone. The fans cheer. Like, last year, we was like, this guy. But, like, now you're like, that's Cam. And I think that's, I mentioned even last year of getting to know him, how great it was, seeing his work ethic, seeing how he was, even though you hear so much about the media and so many people focus on what he's wearing and all. But, like, the guy just wants to be a really good player and puts it all out on the line for the team. And, no one worries about that anymore. Like, we know what he brings. So I'm sure he's more comfortable. I think guys are more comfortable around him and having him here. I think that's the great thing when you get to build. And, I think that's what's great for the rookies like Mac Jones and some of these other young guys that have come in. We got to build with them in the offseason, whereas last year, Duggar gets here and they're like, man, you got to help Doug. And I'm like, man, I got to get to know Doug. I don't know anything about him. And I feel like now those guys are able to take another step because we know them. Like, we know if they're quiet and we got to do different things. Like, it's not the challenge of getting to know a guy and trying to get better at football. We know guys more. And, obviously I think that's been huge with Cam. I don't know. We'll watch. If you're going to ask me right now, the defense won. Yeah, I think that's been really cool to see, and I'll even throw Hoyer in that bunch of those guys just doing whatever they can to try to make him better, to try to help him along the way. And I think that's the greatest thing about this league. It really is a fraternity of players. I remember when I first got here, and the James Sanders, the Merriweathers, the Lee Boddens, of being a big reason why I was able to play as a rookie and to know things was how much time they spent, pouring into me. And I think you just try to replicate that and do the same for the other guys. So just watching that group get each other better, compete at a high level against each other, but also say, like, hey, let me help you. Like, I went through that before. I think that's what it's about. I think that's how you build as a team. That's how you get better. That's how the future of the Patriots organization ends up in good hands. And I think guys that have been here for a while, like myself, you care about that and you're invested in this organization. So it's something that we all try to do as older players. Yeah, man, that's my guy. I've gotten to talk to him a lot. He's dying with the heat down there, but it's totally different, and I think not just him, it's the group. For a long time it was, Duran and Pat, and then Jay came in. So it's a lot different. I'll be excited when my guy Gilly is healthy enough to get back out there and be practicing. Just through the years, you just build those relationships with guys. It's the simple things like walking to practice, like all of those things through the years. If you keep playing, it just doesn't stay the same. That's just how it goes. But he's doing well, and I'm excited for all those guys that are not here. Chung doing 150 hobbies and activities now, and talked to Duran. He's out in Atlanta doing well. So different team, different group of guys, but trying to compete and play at a high level still. You got to ask him. Always. My wife's a trooper.
Thanks, Dad.